have three. Well, we have three board members, so we have a quorum. So I'd like to start the meeting. It's 7:02 p.m. on Thursday, July the 7th. I'd like to start the Board of Architecture Review meeting. Welcome, everybody. And we will start off with applicant Ms. Cass on 24 Cliff Road, who wants to install window shutter, changing the color of the house. So, Ms. Cass, would you like to tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure. So our house, when we purchased it, it already had shutters on it. And when the house was painted at that time, the shutters were removed and they were damaged and never put back. So we are looking to improve the exterior appearance of our house. And one of the things that we always noticed about the house, you know, the current color is like grayish, brownish, like a taupe color, like a darkened taupe color. And with the red windows and the black trim, it almost looks like a hunter's lodge, which, you know, is not to our taste, but also with the deck, which is not pictured in the photo you're looking at, there's a covered portion of the deck to the right that has like these gorgeous white columns, and it would be to the left there. And it has like a very colonial appearance, but that seems to be in contrast with almost like a too rustic, I don't know, feeling that I get when I look at the outside of the house. So we thought it would be nice to change the color, and we drove around the park just getting an idea of what other homes in the park look like with similar styles to ours. And we thought it would look really nice if we made it like a powder blue color and changed the trim to white, and the shutters would be put back on, and the shutters would be the color of our deck, which was the original color. It's like a slate, like a dark slate color. I think I had sent John a close-up picture of some of the boards of the deck, but those are two of the original shutters, and that's the deck right there. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do that, and I think it should look quite nice.
You said you'd painted it before. Do you know when was that? How long ago was that?
In 2017, we just wanted to freshen it up because we were doing so much to the interior that it wasn't kind of on our forefront, and we just took a sample of one of the shingles and we had it color matched, so it wasn't any change. Well,
as I'm sure you're aware then and now, that painting a house is not an easy decision to make, which colors and everything. We go through this a lot here at the Board of Architecture Review. And so one of the benefits of Tuxedo Park having a Board of Architecture Review is that we can share, you know, 5 other opinions that have, you know, have been through this a lot to help give us some objective opinions on it as well to help you. So it's all, you know, we're all on the same side and want to get this, you know, get you to have the perfect color on your house. So I thought what I would start off with giving some thoughts, and then my colleagues will share some thoughts so that we can move this forward. It's a fascinating house to me. I've been to it once, I think, a long time ago. I'd forgotten about that lovely, I think it's like a demi-lune.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I wish we'd had some photographs of that for my colleagues to see, because without that, the house comes across as very devoid of any architectural elements, which to me, when we're talking about adding a white trim, normally that sort of happens when the house, and similar to the ones you've shown, have more of an architectural trim or more of a framing to it. There's things to be highlighted and accentuated apart from just windows. With this case, it seems to be lacking of those, apart from that demi-lune column porch that we can't see in the photographs. The other aspect of it that that is fascinating is this very distinctive and unusual and, in my opinion, fabulous shingles. It's quite different from what the normal shingles you see
Yes.
on the walls. For me, the color that it is, I think, you know, that's the reason it was painted that color, to give it exactly as you said, that sort of more rustic look, this more hunter's lodge, this more, to me, enigmatic look. Like, what is this building? Is this Mr. Lorillard's little cottage for trysts, or is it something, you know, to me, it's sort of timeless. It's so engaging, as opposed to that's obviously that was built in, you know, the mid-century or whenever it was built. So I think, you know, the way the moment it sort of adds that appeal. My personal opinion is that painting a fresh, bright color like that, the blue, on this very uneven shingle will accentuate this unevenness, and it will jar. It'll be, you know, two different things going on. The rustic look which it has will be kind of like trying to get away from that rustic look, but it's not a clean cut. It's not you know, like most of those other blue buildings where there's a flat surface or a very clean line of shingles. So my thought would be that you know, the painting that the light blue color would not be a success. So that's my 2 cents worth. But let's see if my colleagues have some opinions about that.
Yeah, I mean, that everything that you just said, Christopher, is sort of my reaction to the proposed scheme. I don't see enough of an architectural framework, you know, enough solid big details to carry, you know, something so stark as the white, but also it feels very in conflict with the kind of very pronounced, definite, decided rusticity of the details that are there. So in other words, you don't have very large moldings around the windows. You don't have a lot of moldings as you see in that top picture, you know, in the roof line. You don't have those things. You have rather small, attenuated, very narrow bands of wood around the window that lend themselves to a darker, you know, a smaller counterpoint and one that's darker. I think the white would really jar and look uncomfortable with such small framing around the windows. But I also think that it's such a deliberate gesture with those very uneven shingles to specifically to create a rusticity that, unless you were to sort of change that entire surface and you know, side the building again, I would think that the pale blue, which lends itself much more to a stucco trim or a very clear straight clapboard trim like the one we're looking at now, you know, or, you know, theoretically with a more evenly laid shingle too, although I think even that would be pushing it, I think would look very strange. The other thing I was going to mention is this deck, which is clearly a wonderful feature of the house. But if that were to be white, you know, I think that would be very discordant and would sort of scream out in a way that I don't think one would want it to, even living in the house, let alone neighbors or passersby. And so that would lead to my next question, which is, where exactly is the building? How visible is it from the road to other neighbors? And also, is it in the ridgeline overlay or not? I mean, I don't know where on Cliff Road it is. If it's at a certain altitude within the park, then the code actually mandates earth tones and colors that would range from grays to browns to greens. And I suppose you could get away with something very handsome like this eggplant color or this dark burgundy that we see here as qualifying as an earth tone. But I don't know where the house is. Maybe that's irrelevant.
So the house is, it's actually the second house on Cliff Road, and the deck would not be changed in color.
Oh, okay.
We would be keeping like it's the deck in this picture right here is not yet repainted. We had
Mhm.
it repainted to the later, it was just refinished. Again, we color matched it to not change it, but it's like the dark gray slate color. So we wouldn't
Which
be
looks
painting the
right.
deck
I mean,
white.
sorry to interrupt, but I mean that kind of a very minimal counterpoint in tone of the deck versus the shingle allow it to do all the good things that it's doing while being pretty quiet about it. So I'm glad that's your line of thinking too.
And I guess I didn't think of it at the time, but it would have been helpful to include pictures of the Demi-Lune deck that's left out here. And also the entryway, which is obscured by the big cherry tree in the front, is also like a colonial style entryway with these two grand columns and then a triangular
Hmm.
portion over them, and it's all just it's black, and so it's very dark. So it, to me, looking at it, it seems strange. You have these white columns next to these black columns,
Hmm.
and that was why we thought maybe a white entrance would also, kind of lift the place up a little bit.
Do you think it would be worth our sort of coming by to see it in situ, just to, if the photographs aren't
It couldn't hurt.
cap?
I don't mind at all.
I think that would be the ideal scenario to get the whole picture, because I seem to remember there was a garage as well. Would you be wanting to paint the garage or not, or keeping the garage the same?
Oh, so the garage is pretty far away from the house. We definitely need to work on the garage. It would be a separate project, but obviously the garage will follow the color scheme of the house
Mhm, mhm.
because the garage needs structural work and electrical work. So we're not quite ready to paint it yet.
Great. And so it's the second house on the road. So in other words, it's not very high up the hill, right?
No, but no, it's not up the hill. You can't see the house completely. It's partially obscured by trees and rocks,
Mhm,
but you
mhm.
do catch glimpses of it.
You say it's the second house. The first house, I think, belongs to
The
the Hay,
haze,
and
correct.
Oh, okay.
their shingle is I think they've done it in a very successful way, because it's not the normal sort of normal brown. It's a kind of slight burgundy, or
Yes,
yeah,
it's like a reddish
yeah,
brown, yeah,
which
like a
has a very,
chocolate.
very distinctive, very wonderful. For me, that elevates it as opposed to just the normal shingle, and gives it such a distinctive look, unique, fresh, and a great look. And so that was, one of one of the few one of the cases that was a great success in my book, about the coloring of it. Um, going that route, and so that ended up, making it look very fresh and cared for. um, and I think that would be, that sort of, direction, as we were saying, would behoove this one. Each property is very different, so
Mhm,
we don't have a set of rules. So every time, we
okay.
come to a new house with its we try and focus on these on the great features of the house in order to accentuate them, as opposed to clash with them. So that's what we're doing here.
Right.
Let me ask Christopher Boshiers, did you have anything you wanted to add?
He may be muted still.
I think looking at the architecture is the thing to do on this particular case, because we can't see the details, and the description of the front entrance, for example, sounds completely different from what we're seeing here. So I think stopping by to look at it would be very helpful and generous of you if we could.
So I think what I think after this meeting, so think about what direction you want to take, and then if there's any alternatives that you're happy with, and then once you've sort of decided, you know what, these are the like 2 or 3 options that you're happy with, maybe if you can do a swatch, on a piece that's not so visible, maybe. Where the shutter's going to go, so that would be covered or something, so it wouldn't stick out. That would be great, so we could actually visualize it in situ, or you could see it as well and see
Sure.
whether it works. So let us get back to Mr. Ledwith, and then we can schedule that. As far as the shutters are concerned, I don't think I think that would be fantastic to add the shutters back. It's because it's devoid of architectural elements. So. And if they were originally shutters there, then absolutely it makes sense to put them back. The ones you'd mentioned, they're made of wood. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's perfect. So I think, and they're new ones. They're not the ones that have been restored. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll buy new ones.
Okay. So yeah. So I think that's where we stand, so that we can. Make sure that your house is improved, and
Okay.
you love it, and we will love it, and yeah, we can move forward. But yes,
Thank you for your input. That's given me a lot to think about.
very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so now we're on to sorry, I forgot to mention that Sheila Trellins, the chairman, is absent tonight. So member Christopher Gow is chairing this meeting. I should have said that at the beginning. Item number 2, Ms. Harris, welcome. And we've already had a look at the plans for your house addition. Since then, it has been the zoning has been approved by the Board of Zoning on the 13th of June 1922. There's just a small correction that should be made there. It says in the paperwork, it's on Laurelard Road number 1. It should be corrected to Laurelard Road number 71, because that's your correct address. So we've already reviewed it, and I think we're all quite happy with it. Is there anything you've changed or want to comment about since the last time?
No, I thought you might like to speak to Timothy Rear, who's my architect, if you had any questions, but no, I don't believe we've changed anything. Tim?
No, the only thing that we've done is on the west elevation, we've eliminated we've simplified our entrance, and we just have it going straight across underneath the gable instead of that shallow vault. We've kept the attenuated elegance of the Hollywood Regency double columns, which was suggested last time. And then those are echoed in the flat pilasters that are against the house of the same dimension. So that was responding to some comments, and everything else is the same that we presented. And so I think we're in pretty good shape there, unless someone has any questions.
Well, on the plans that we have, I'm not sure. Can we screen share those? The plans that are submitted, I believe still reflect that original change from the double columns. Is that?
I'll show you. Why don't we show you the elevation, and I'll do a a screen share here and bring that over.
One second, Tim, let me allow you to share. Okay, you should be able to share it, Tim.
Okay, so if you see the cursor, this is the elevation that we would like. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. Just a minute.
I think you're sharing yourself.
Let's see.
Yeah, there's nothing coming up, Tim.
Okay, just 1 second.
Shh, Dee Dee, come here.
While we're doing that, I have another question about the I guess it would be the north elevation of the house, where there was a demi-lune window underneath the gable. I believe the roof is being extended a little bit to the left, so the center of the gable is being shifted over.
Yes,
Is the demi-lune being shifted over as well?
yes, it will preserve the alignment of the demi-lune. I'm just trying to find the screen share. Didn't work, huh? So let me just try that.
Where that window has to be replaced, but it's being copied. You know, what we're looking at is copying it completely. And then there's a 3-section window that sits above the entrance on the, I'm not very good at these east-west things, but it sits above the entrance, and that window is being copied as well. The other windows in the house will all retain, you know, the exact look that they are. Oh, here we
Here
go.
you go.
Now, I don't know if you can see this.
There we go.
Yes, we're getting there.
Can you rotate it? Right.
There. So
All right.
that's our west elevation.
Mhm.
And you can see the double pilasters, the double columns on each side, which will echo the thin double pilasters on the house. We have the flat gable here. We didn't like that sort of shallow arch there. Didn't go with the other kind of half round kind of demi-lune vents, and also the half round window on the south elevation, which you can see here. Let's see.
Mhm.
So this window here,
Mhm.
this is very elegant. It's got the full radius here. And then we have the same thing on these vents. And
Mhm.
then we thought that this would be a nice counterpoint to that. But this is the version with what we had last time. And then we switched these to the double columns, which we like very much. And then this is the addition that we're talking about with the for the family room. And this gets shifted over. That was your question, Christopher, right?
Right, correct. Yeah.
So that will be centered.
This is all very thoughtful and beautifully conceived and just right for the house, and just 100% from where I sit, an improvement. And I'm happy with the double columns. That does seem, having now seen them in close proximity.
Well, actually, I think what you can't really see is that adjacent to the door, on both sides of the door, are molded pilasters. I don't know, Tim. what are
Yes, exactly. And those are right behind these columns that you see in this elevation. So it's a nice
Even better, yeah.
way to play.
Right, so they just basically echo that, and they're being redone in the exact size that the ones on the house are. So the house is just sort of, they're formed into the plaster on either side of the door, and so they're just echoed in the supports at the front.
Beautiful detail.
And the stone veneer, the new stone veneer, that is real stone. It's not.
Yes,
Right.
this is real stone. It would match what's there, the same field stone, the same ashlar pattern, same joint size. And the idea is to fix some sort of settling that's there and make it all level, and then reattach the steps. So it'll look just like it was built, I think. Right now, there's been some settling that needs to be corrected.
Right, it's beginning to pull away from the house, and it's sinking at the front that you're looking at. It's beginning to tilt down.
Here's a question for you, just because we had a application just come up about color scheme. Are you, refresh my memory, are you retaining the color scheme or?
Yes, the house is painted white. It'll be repainted white. We are looking at the shutters just because we're not completely sure that those were original. I'm still searching to see if I can find something at the Historical Society. So to see if they were original to the house or not. There's an opinion that they weren't. So
There may be, I'm not sure if you're aware that in the library as well, on the second floor of the library, there's should be a file on your house as well with information about it. And then the railing, you're adding to the railing or replacing it, or?
It's being taken off, reworked and put back on. It's being taken off, clean, painted, and put back on.
Yeah, strip sanded and refinished and repainted.
Ideal.
In its existing color, which is black.
So I don't have any more questions. I love what I see. And do any of my colleagues have any more questions or concerns or comments before we go to vote? No?
None for me.
So I've got the numbers of the sheets here that were originally, so they've been updated on May 26th, is that correct?
Yes, yes. We'll resend this over if it's not all intact, but that's correct.
And John, do you have this latest, Mr. Ledwith? Do you have the?
I don't know if I don't have them physically. I may have them electronically, but I'd prefer if the architect would resend them tomorrow, if this is part of the approval.
We will do that. Yep. We'll send the full package intact, John, so you don't have pieces with older dates and all that.
Thank you.
Good idea. Just send them a final set.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a proposal for the Harris property at 71 Laurel Road for the addition to the house as specified on architectural drawings by Timothy Greer, A201.00, A102.00, A103.00, A101.00, modified on the 26th of May 2022, pending the delivery of these updated drawings to Building Inspector John Ledwith tomorrow, Friday. Anything missing? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Christopher Boshiers.
Aye.
So we have 3 in favor. We have a quorum. So congratulations. Yes, your project is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with it. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Come by and see.
And now item number 3 on the agenda, Mr. Perner at 29 Lookout Stable Road, a construction of a new home. So we have, we'd love to see the updates that you've done since the last meeting, which unfortunately I missed. So I'm excited to see what the developments are, if you'd like to share them with us.
I'm happy that you're here. I have my architect, and he's got some, what I believe, very dramatic presentations for you. I think you're going to love them. And I, again, like to turn it over to Roberto.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
All righty. So let me share my screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All righty. So I want to start with the this proximity diagram. Do you want a quick rundown of the building, or should we start where we ended last time?
This seems like a very good place to start, just the approach to the house and the sense of privacy and the view shed.
Yeah, so based on last meeting, some of the comments were that would be very noticeable to the surrounding neighbors. we did a little diagram here, kind of identifying the neighbor's property, the adjacent neighbors, and our lot and where the house will be standing. The the buffer zone that we have highlighted here, it's to the nearest neighbor. So we're just under 300 square feet. It's 297. It's not square feet. Sorry, 297 feet away from the adjacent neighbor. As you can see, it's surrounded by trees, and it's due to the height of the building and the surroundings. We don't believe it will be very noticeable at all. We have some site views here that we put together. You can kind of see where the neighbors are and where the house will be located,
Mhm.
and the buffer zone in between here. So you can kind of see, you have to be very high up to kind of get a glimpse at the house. These blocks are 30 foot high. If you're at a 15 feet or even at 30 feet, it will be very hard to notice the house from all the views. You have to be very high up. I would like to share a clip here as well, so you can kind of see the whole picture.
We very much appreciate you doing this, because for this project and many other projects in Tuxedo Park, to get this overall view of the house in context with the neighbors and the land is very, very important to help us make the right decision. So very much appreciate you going to the effort of sharing this.
Here, here.
That's lagging a little.
Wow, I feel like a bald eagle.
So that's that property that's 297 feet away.
Mhm.
Yep.
Excellent.
So the house is well buffed from both the other houses and even the road. I mean, it would seem.
So there's that, and then some of the feedback that we had last time is to incorporate natural elements a little bit better than what we had last time. It looked very monotone. One of the comments was this black entry tower that we have here, we had it called out before as I believe it was a metal composite panel, which is not approved and it's not allowed. We are proposing this component to be black granite. Will be a natural, it's a natural material. I think will be it works well and it blends well with the surroundings. Another thing that we did, we incorporated the use of cedar, which was very like last time, and we went ahead and kind of introduced that element a little more on the rest of the house, especially the garage. I think let's see, you can see, where are they? Before it was very monotone, like I said. So we did went back and highlighted areas, emphasize that cedar, make it a little more harmonious throughout the entire house. Even the back, the two-story wing has that element as well. So it complements the house. You can see the granite.
Can I say one thing? I mean, I think, well, first of all, just to echo what Christopher said, the presentation, and I'd had a chance to look at it before the meeting as well, is so appreciated in terms of just showing the context of the house. And also deeply appreciated are these gestures of other materials and that are very much responding to the conversation we had. And I think from where I sit are a wonderful improvement. Just if I could stop on one small point, there was a discussion about materials, which, you know, and I think it's important to understand that this board has 5 different members and no one member speaks for the other 4, right? And one member was taking issue with the materials that you'd proposed before, specifically some of the metal detailing. And from where I sit, I think the counterpoint of materials is much more successful when you are going sort of closer to the route you'd initially had using metal for the black detailing of the sort of cube in the boxes and the you know, tall muntins separating the panes of glass. From where I sit, and I hear, I can only imagine that you were responding to that conversation when you adopted the black marble, if that's what I understood correctly, or black granite.
Correct.
That to me would be an unnecessary and maybe an unnecessary complication, and much more problematic than what you'd initially proposed, right? When you think of the history of modern architecture, you know, from what Henry Russell Hitchcock and Philip Johnson decided to qualify as the international style after the fact, because these are all your, you know, I mean, there's a noble role of metal, you know, in counterpoint to concrete or stucco or wood, and I see nothing at all shameful about that. And I just feel when you mentioned that you were adding black marble or black granite, that to me seems odd for what that is worth.
I totally agree. Yeah. I think the only sort of black marble, black granite cube that belongs in Mecca. I think this one. I think this one, you know, in metal. I mean, that's what it looks like to me here, and I can't imagine it in granite. It would look, I don't know whether it be shiny or not. It would look like a tombstone or not. I agree. Metal, it's demanding for metal. So, in my opinion, as well. So, I totally agree with Rob McQuilkin about that. And it's a nice play with the other materials, and it, you know, for a modern house like this, that's totally appropriate. So, the metal aspect is in my opinion the way to go.
And Roberto, would you carry that same metal detail then into the garage? Is that what's depicted?
We can, are you saying if we can incorporate that metal detail into the garage as well, like here, or?
Yeah, where you have the grid. I was just curious what that was specified as.
Oh, this is part of the door assembly. So it would be, it wouldn't be metal or aluminum.
So it would be the same material, basically just a smaller, lighter application of it, right? Which makes perfect sense to me. I mean, the repetition, and I think that's what Christopher is getting at, is very handsome.
Very successful.
And while we're talking about repetition, the thing that maybe could help with that is the element that is jarring the most to me, and I'm sure it's just schematic. I think it's just to show where it is the driveway. What type of driveway are you proposing? Because this large, in the back where you see the corner, the angular deck, as it were, looks fantastic and appropriate because it's quite small, but in the driveway it looks very barren, and so I'm wondering what your thoughts are on sort of breaking up visually the driveway. And also the other feedback we have for you is I'm not sure whether you're planning on entertaining, but with driveways, you know, most of the time you're just driving up yourself and using it and going to the garage. But if you think about when you're entertaining, if there's a turnaround point for something for valet parking, or if you have a few guests, so that's not, you know, people are always every week they're hitting each other's cars after a successful party because they hadn't thought about the driveway. So that's something to think about. My input on that would be, because it's so geometric, that maybe there could be that same grid pattern recreated in a different stone within the cement or within the work or the stonework of the driveway, creating like a centerpiece so that the cars know to drive around that. That's kind of like the roundabout, but it's not, it's a long strip. Something like that. That could be a fun element to play with, which would, because otherwise at the moment it's like, oh, it's, you know, it's so, it looks like it detracts from the beauty of the house. It makes it so much more cold and institutional, the driveway.
One of the things that we're trying to do, Mr. Gao, Christopher, I have a very strong feeling about minimizing the impact on the land. So I have a house now that have a circular drive, but it's one of those contemporaries. And what I'm trying to do here is have the least amount of impact on the terrain and not have big driveways. And it does look like it's a massive driveway in the drawing here, but I can assure you, we're going to be putting a minimal driveway, and people have to be careful when they're coming to the house, because I'm not going to have a big turnaround, 100 feet radius, and I'm going to destroy more trees and destroy the plants and everything else. And when we get this to the point where we're going to be restoring the land, I certainly would look forward to having you come and tell us how you did the racetrack, because I want this land to look the same way as it does today when I'm all done, with the exception of our house being there. And I said at the last meeting, and I said it at the planning board meeting, I want to take out the least number of trees as possible, and having a big expansive driveway. I'm not killing any trees to accommodate poor driving. So people come in, put their car in the garage, you pull the car out of the garage, you go down the hill. And that's primarily what we're planning on.
So Mr. Perna, it may appear that there's a huge driveway, and in fact, that's just like an indeterminate space.
Right, exactly.
I see.
It's the perspective of that particular drawing that makes the driveway look enormous.
So some of what you currently see as a driveway, in fact, probably would be some form of ground cover or something, or maybe not. Is that accurate?
You're on.
Jack, you're muted.
Yeah, okay. Yes, that's absolutely the case.
Oh, okay.
And in reference to the color of the material, we're going to be putting, we're going to try to have material that looks the same color of the granite outcrops.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to try to get material.
Sorry to interrupt, but you mean for the macadam, it would be a grayish rather than a black, sort of bright black macadam.
I'm not planning on macadam.
What's is it crushed gravel or? Oh, great.
Exactly. That's
Beautiful.
what I want to do. And I
Love
want
it.
to be able to get material that's locally sourced, that's going to be similar to the chemical makeup of the granite that's there.
Well, how great. And then you've got natural percolation. I'm sure, I just remembered that you teach ecology, so.
Yes. So I don't want to have a lot of impervious
Right.
areas where, for example, one of the reasons why we have our deck on top of a roof is because we don't want to have it on the ground where it's going to detract from the natural environment. I'd rather be looking at the natural environment from the patio than destroying the natural environment by building the patio there.
Yeah.
So,
You'll be at warbler height.
yeah.
Oh,
So that's really the goal.
That's commendable. That's great to hear. I mean, and talking about there's the other roofs. Well, I think one has solar panel.
Right.
One roof is going to be used for yourselves. The other roof on the left there, is that going to be just a flat roof, or are you going to do a green roof at all, or?
I haven't really decided about, I don't know too much about green roof and about if how you would maintain it would be a problem, I think, getting up there too.
Mhm.
It's great to have it. I know that there's another house, another modern house that has that on it. I don't know how they get up there to cut the grass, or they just let it grow, which would be nice too. But it's something that we would think about in the future. I'm not thinking about putting that green roof on there at this point.
Well,
And
I think,
I don't think there's any real access right now in the design. We would have to put in the safe access to that roof. So,
yeah, I think there's a fabulous green roof nearby
mhm,
Jehovah's Witnesses compound in Warwick. They've done a lot of green roofs,
mhm,
but because there's such elevation, you see them from high up in the buildings, so
mhm.
you can enjoy them. Whereas here, yeah, you wouldn't be able to even see it, let alone access
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so but where the swimming pool is, I sorry I missed the first meeting. Is that open, or is that a glass panel? Is the swimming pool enclosed, or is it open, that roof, the space
Yeah.
above the swimming
There'll
pool?
be 24 by 8 foot window on the top, but it won't open. It'll be fixed.
Okay.
And again, we're putting geothermal in. And so we're trying to, if I had originally thought of having the whole roof glass, but then you're going to get excessive heat. Even if you use insulated glass, it's going to be a problem. So we've then compromised with this, and we're only going to be putting the light, the window, I call it the light, over the actual swimming pool. And that wall where the swimming pool is, that will open up, so that we'll get that opportunity to bring the outside in through opening up that area.
Nice.
So those will be sliding doors. So
Do you
that-
have a solution, Mr. Perna, to the question or the potential problem of humidity in the other living portions of the house? Is
Yeah.
there a way to block that off?
well, this room is really isolated from the rest of the house.
Mhm.
And so it'll have its own built-in dehumidifier.
Oh,
So we've gotten that pretty well in the plan, into the mechanical plan, and that's absolutely right. I'm not expecting any infiltration of humidity coming into the house, but that area too, you don't want to have that overly humid. So that's already been determined what we're going to be doing. I'm trying to get the what they call a condensate, that the dehumidifier produces water. As it dehumidifies, obviously, removes the water and turns it from a vapor to liquid. I'm going to return that liquid to the pool where it came from in the first place. So
Well,
it's all going to be plumbed in.
brilliant.
So we're going to reduce the amount of water the pool will have to use, because as water comes out, it'll condense in the dehumidifier. The dehumidifier will be plumbed back into the pool. So there'll be minimal amount of loss. And also the pool will have a cover. So when it's not in use, there'll be a form-fitting cover over it to reduce the heat loss and to reduce the humidity that it would be imparting. So that's the plan for the pool. And the rest of the room, that's where we'll be putting a lot of our tropical plants and other things to enhance that room, the environment. And the plants will also be appreciating some humidity. We're not going to be putting desert plants in there. So we'll be putting in plants that will be absorbing some of the humidity into the soil around the plants. So it'll be the kind of thing that obviously we're going to have to play with it, because it is kind of experimental in that sense. So how much, what the setting, it'll all be done automatically. They have sensors built in. So you keep your humidity about 40%. 40 to 50% is about where you want to keep it.
Brilliant.
As the rest of the house will also, but the rest of the house is going to have radiant floor heating and subsidized with regular ducted hot air and air conditioning. So the first floor is all going to be radiant floor. And that again, the radiant floor fits very well with the geothermal system because you're talking about very low temperature rises that are required for that radiant floor. You're not heating up a big boiler to 220 degrees. You're just bringing that radiant floor up to a comfortable temperature, and that's where it stays. And that's what makes that whole geothermal system work. The fact that you have that slab, and the slab will have all the radiant heat built into it, and that will be radiating nice, consistent heat right under your feet. And second floor will have, again, using the same unit, they have has 5 different functions. It'll produce the air conditioning and the heat for the second floor.
Forgive me
That's
if a couple of questions I have, they may have already been answered in the first meeting that I missed. For the geothermal heating, how deep are you going to have to excavate?
It's not, well, you're drilling down, there's going to be 6 wells. And they drill straight down into the ground. They're not going to be horizontal, they're vertical. And it takes a minimal amount of space to be able to do that. So again, getting back to that, conserving the landscaping, we're not going to be punching holes all over the place to do this. So those 6 drillings, I think there'll be 200 feet each, and there'll be 6 of them, and that's sufficient to run that system.
I'm a bit naive about these things. They obviously have experienced with going through rock because there's so much rock there, so that's they know.
You can go through rock with it. It just costs more money.
Right.
So because you're paying the driller by the hour, and so the longer it takes them, they're not concerned about. They go through rock all the time, but you got to pay them that extra. It really depends on how lucky you are not to be hitting that much rock, but we will hit rock. There's no doubt in my mind. You go to 200 feet, you're going to hit rock. No way.
That's my concern, that it's, you're going to hit rock very quickly. So,
but they're used to it.
Okay.
And their equipment, they have these incredible drills now that go right through the rock. It's not only spinning around, but it's also like one of those hammer drills that you've heard about. And it just pounds the ground, and I think it's like 10,000 RPM. It actually liquefies the ground as it goes through it.
Wow.
It's just an amazing drill.
Well, this when that happens, when they sort of spec the property out, and it would be important for it to be communicated from them about the length that's going to happen, the noise, because that area, there's a great sensitivity in that area of the park about drilling and dynamiting in the past. There have been problems created with that. So that neighborhood is very sensitive to any sort of drilling. So as much information and when it's going to happen that you can share, the better, so that you can avoid, so everyone's in the loop and everyone can know, and if it can be done in a short period of time, and everyone's aware of when it's going to happen, so it's not dragging on and on and on and on and on.
They knock these holes down in a day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's amazing. They bring this piece of equipment, they put it up, they put the casings down, they do the drilling, and they're done. I've seen it. There's really good videos now. This whole house had one. It's phenomenal. Dandelion Energy does that. And you could see it. It was amazing how quickly it's done. They did the whole thing in a day, and it was a retrofit. Ours is a new house. It'd be even easier for them to get in and out. They'll be doing that at the time when obviously before the house is built, we're going to be doing that in the early part of the construction.
Great.
Once the driveway's constructed, they'll be coming up and doing that.
The second question I had was the color of the house. What is that color? Is it like an off gray?
Yeah, it's going to be Venetian plaster finish, and it'll have some different tones of gray in it. gray and some light gray and dark gray. Again, trying to simulate some of the natural colors that are right there on the lot. That's what we'll be looking to simulate as far as the color.
That's great to hear. That's important to give it that natural variation. It's there was another project in the park with a brick surface, and the brick was a very dark burgundy with mica in it. So it with the different times of the day and the different light, it changes, and it's really quite magical. So if this Venetian plaster finish sounds great, that it's with different light, and there'll be a little bit of play instead of just a uniform color.
Well, that's Roberto's idea, and everybody loves it. And I went and looked at some other buildings that are the exteriors, even interior, they use that too. It looks fabulous, really great.
So there's some particulate in the stucco, is that right? That gives that alternating tone?
Correct. Correct. So it would be, we're doing a project, currently doing a project right now. So it's integrated into, there's two ways to do it. There's actually a Venetian plaster, and you can do it that way, or you can integrate it into the stucco. It would be, the looks are almost the same, identical.
Great. Sounds lovely.
Excellent. Well, yes, it's looking great, with great progress, and it's as far as in my book, it's going in a fabulous direction. I'm delighted that we're having something very much of our century and very appropriate for given the our current climate conditions. Very sensitive to that concern. So it's great to be having an addition to the park that is of our time.
Thank you. And then the other thing I really appreciate that we're not putting that granite, because I agree with you, and that was something maybe I misunderstood from the last meeting, that the bar was looking for more natural materials. So it was kind of like, all right, we'll put it up there. But absolutely right, it doesn't make any sense at all. And it just, and it does add tremendous cost too.
Yeah, and for no reason, no good reason. I mean,
I'm glad we all agree about that, because that was the only reason we did that.
I
It's not
sort of
the
just
original.
assumed, but
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. So that's going to be a change. We're going to take that out. The other warming elements, I thought those were really great. The additional wood, and John Favela, my general contractor, who's on the call now, assures me that that's going to really look fabulous. He knows exactly what he's planning on doing.
beautiful.
So
Excellent.
that's where we are.
Well, thank you, Mr. Perna. I don't think we have any more questions or comments.
Not for me.
Well, thank you. So now, item number 4, Mr. Thompson.
Could I add, before we go to the next? I'm in a situation where I've got to move this project as quickly as possible. There's another entity called the bank. And so I've really got to move on this in order to make this project work. I can't lose my rate lock. And I'm on a time restraint right now. And so I don't know what else we need to do as far as modifying it. But if there's a way of voting on it now, I would appreciate it.
I don't understand there to be any modifications being asked for, but I don't know procedurally what the next step is, Christopher.
And maybe John Ledwith, you'd be able to chime in there, what exactly you need as the building inspector for us to be able to vote on it.
Well, there's a few things that are needed. First of all, the planning board has to develop the maximum buildable envelope. And then Mr. Perna's plans have to comply with that maximum buildable envelope. We also need a stormwater management plan. And we just need a plan that shows compliance with the village zoning code, which I believe they have been working on fairly successfully. So there's a number of technical issues that have to be addressed before the bar can approve the architecture. You could indicate to Mr. Perna that you're generally happy. Obviously, we'd like some more specifications on some of the colors and the lights and the windows. So maybe Mr. Perna and his team can work on the manufacturer's specs for a lot of the architectural elements at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, John, I think that's very accurate. The three members here, if I understand you as well, Christopher Boshiers, right? So are all, I think, 100% in support of everything you've shown us thus far. So yes, I didn't realize that the planning board hadn't yet done its maximum buildable envelope. So that's obviously essential, and then all the specs. But speaking for three of us, and that's 3 of 5, it looks good.
So I've got to get Roberto and the structural engineer to finish the complete plans now. And now that you've given us the green light, we can move forward with that. And those plans should be done very, very quickly, because we've been progressing with good faith that we figured that we were going to succeed in the project, or else we wouldn't have started in the first place.
Sure.
So here we go. And I'm going to tell Roberto right now to go ahead and get the structural engineer and get started and finishing the plans as quickly as possible. And I'll touch base with John Letwith tomorrow, and we'll take up the details that we have to finish with the planning board. And that's wonderful news. So I thank you so much. I'm looking so
Well, you know,
forward.
Mr. Perna, it's wonderful on both sides. What you're doing is so exciting, and so I won't say too much more about the state of the world, but it's very encouraging
Thank
and
you so
exciting
much.
what you're doing. So
Thank you for all of your help and ideas. They were great.
thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So moving on, item number 4, Mr. Thompson at 57 Lookout Road, construction of a pool. So if you would like to welcome, if you'd like to tell us about the project, and then we can all chime in and give us our thoughts and to move forward with this.
Excellent. Thank
John,
you.
would you like to make an introduction, and then I can review the details and share my screen with graphics and pictures?
That sounds great, Dan.
I'm
make
Dan
a-
Sherman.
Yes, so Dan Sherman is the designer of the pool, and he knows the specifics. Thank you all for making time tonight. So at a high level, obviously the ambition is to install a pool. And as Dan and I have been working on this, we looked at a number of other houses in the park, looked at many, many ideas. I would say at a macro level, the objective is to do something that's fairly straightforward, and I'm going to use the word simple only from the perspective of not trying to distract from other things. So there is no lazy 8 river or slides, but truly a water feature that can also be used as a pool, and then decking around that pool. One of the components that we looked at was trying to think how to carry some of the heritage of the property. And as many of you may know, but just as even standards so we're all on the same page, this house was built in the early 80s on top of what was the original horse and carriage stables of the Laura Lord Mansion. And what remained from that, and it has been a large architecture feature of the current structure, is the original foundation and its stone working. So one of the key elements that we have looked at, given the realities that the land is not perfectly flat, is that incorporating use of a very similar stone work and style and design. Obviously the pool was not original, but we're trying to think how the continuity of that stonework can be carried through the design of it. The other element that I'll share at a macro level is that we do know that we need to have a privacy around this, right? So above and beyond fencing and what's required for security and safety, the aspect of keeping the pool private so that obviously neighbors are not seeing this, or it's not a visual, impairment. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dan in a moment, but really looking at using trees and shrubbery to do that, so that from any other parts of the park where it could be visible that we've done a proper shielding. I guess the last thing I would state, again, for those of you that may not be intimately familiar with the property, is that there's just a little bit over than 7 acres of land. And this part of the land that we're looking to improve goes into what I would call a field of sorts. And we do see the structure of the pool being an entryway or vista. And you'll see this in the plan in a moment, where once this pool has been established, it will be a place from which the rest of the field is visible. And our plan right now showcases what we would do with the pool and to make that compliant. But the idea of then being able to cantilever and improve the land from a, again, landscaping, et cetera, point of view would be the aspiration. So, Mr. Dan Sherman, let me turn the microphone and screen to you and you can walk through the detail.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. I think it'd be best if I shared the screen and then I can show the overall site plan, the close-up site plan, and some site pictures. Am I there? Okay. So, can people see that and hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the property, as John said, is 7.6 acres. And the driveway comes down, oh no, it's not really shown here. The driveway comes down from Lookout Road and wiggles around and enters into the courtyard that's in front of the house. And there's the old stone wall is here. The next plan will show that in more detail. I'm showing this one because it shows the context within the 7.6 acres. It is 335 feet from the front line where 100 is required. It's 135 from the rear where 75 is needed. And so it's more than ample for the setbacks. Let me skip to the next one. And the view renderings and the site photos, you know, will be illustrative to see. But the courtyard in front of the house is down here at the lower part of the drawing. And the end of the old stone wall is right there. We're making some new stone walls to create a level terrace in what is right now kind of a meadowy field, as John said. There's no trees that need to be removed. The trees all happen a little to the south of this plateau that we're making, or a terrace. The pool is 17 by 50. We wanted kind of a long, elegant pool to create more of a reflecting pool kind of a thing, like a lily tank kind of a feel. And it's in a terrace that's about 50 by 80. And I will minimize that and show you, oh, what did I do? Oh. All right, let me get rid of this. So I'm going to show what the site looks like now. There's the house on top of the old barn foundation, this stone wall that continues around, and there's a lot of stone, but the house itself, John said, is made in the 80s. It's sort of a contemporary modern house. And so there's this not flat, but essentially slightly sloping area where we're going to place the pool. Right now, it's just a grass lawn. Let me find the next one. I think this picture just looks a little further over. Now, this is looking more from the back. John, jump in if you want to, but this is the old foundation of the barn and the look of the stone wall. So the pool is above this. You wouldn't see the pool from here, but it's down. This is down below, and then it turns into the woodland. I'm not sure why I made that. This, again, the pool here is right to the right of this beginning of the meadow up above, and we'll continue the look of that stone wall. And the lower terrace walls will probably be this rougher stone because no one will see them, and there already is this element on the site of a more rustic boulder wall. That will be the look of the wall that wraps around the lower part of the terrace. And right now there's air conditioning in this location and a door into an underspace that will make this underspace, which is unfinished right now, into kind of a cabana or storage kind of thing. No, that's not going to be a cabana anymore. It was too difficult to get down there. That would be storage. But well, the pool filter will be hidden down in this area, and I'll screen it out with hollies and evergreens and things. And the last picture, oh, sorry about that. I'm all over the place here. Is this picture looks from the street. This is up from Lookout Road, and the driveway, that's there, John's driveway meandering down arriving into the courtyard in front of the house. And the pool would be in this sort of, it's lit by the sun a little bit way down
Mhm.
there. And in the winter with nothing here, it's barely visible, but we still plan a whole colony of evergreens at the near the pool, and also in this upland part. We'll put in some natural looking white pine so that it just looks like it's always been there, but you would never be able to see down in there. So let me show you now the look of it. These are renderings with Google SketchUp. Oh, that's not the first one. Guess I numbered these backwards. Let me do this one. So this hedge at the bottom of the picture is the separation between the motor court, or the parking courtyard in front of the house. There'd be a fence, and then you'd step down. And part of that stone wall is existing, but we'd need to enhance it to make the plateau really level, but it will look the same as the existing. And then this looks deep off into the meadow, and we have these columnar trees to give it some formality, and they create vistas between them to frame views down into the woods. And then we've planted the evergreen screen up above. And the pool is 17 by 50. And this is our idea. Let me see another one. So this shows the context of it with the house and the old stone barn below, and the walls, the stone wall. And that's our pool terrace connecting to the motor court. We've hedged it. We planted these columnar hornbeam trees to give it a garden feeling rather than a pool, like just a pool for fun, but it's to look like a garden courtyard. And it has a vista that looks off into the meadow. I think that might be the four views. I think, unless you can add anything, John, that's my story.
I think those are the key pieces. I'd love to get feedback from the group.
I'll keep on this view because I think it sort of shows the picture.
Mhm.
No, we'll be happy to give our thoughts, comments about it. I'll start off with so yes, the idea of this vista is super. I mean, that's so important that it's not just a swimming pool; it's just part of this wonderful vista that your eye is going to see. Because most of the time it won't be a swimming pool. It'll be in the winter time. The pool won't be used. So when John drives in the driveway or with guests, they'll want to see as some sort of like an architectural element instead of just like, oh, that's where the pool is and it's covered. To enhance on that, it seems to me that the right side where the meadow starts, to have, even if it's a fake grill or gate or something, some opening there,
Well, yeah.
makes you think, oh, I can carry on, like the Dumbarton Oaks, the Beatrix Farron there. There's this wonderful continuity of levels going, and it's so exciting to think what's next, and then even if it's like a tremblay, it's and then
in this view I've shown apple trees. I don't think John has weighed in on that yet, but I couldn't help myself putting a little distant LA of some apple trees out there.
well, exactly, in some, at the very end of your property that's legally permissible, some sort of eye catcher, as we call them in England, that that some statuary or something that your eye is drawn towards. So and then the where the apple trees are, if there's some trees like that are fastigiate or something, tall, and that they're narrower near the end to give it a cheating sense of even a longer perspective. Luckily, you don't have to do that because you do have so much land. It's not as if it's some little suburban plot that, so you have that. And then on the other side, where I'm trying to think of, this is just more functionality and more, looking at it objectively, that if I was a guest and, running to the kitchen and then running to the pool, knowing the house, I wouldn't want to go down below and in that back, the door below the house and then up the stairs. I'd want to run through the motor court into the front door into the kitchen. So I think maybe the motor court looks very severe, like in the Perner's motor court, it looked very severe. I remember is it gravel?
That's right.
Right. It's not so severe in reality, but I would do something that because obviously that's where cars would park, that there's all sorts of surfaces that are green and that have the grass come through but are hard enough to park cars, so that it's soft on the foot as well. So you could run barefoot across it as opposed to on hot gravel. It'd be like a beautiful oasis pool, and then inferno, and then into the house. So it's, you know, so I would, and then also maybe opening that up a little bit, that gap, that gate there, so that you don't just get a small little narrow view of it. You get a little bit more of a, or even if the width is the same for the gate, at least the entranceway is sort of opened up a little bit. So it's like, oh, there's something there. What is that? So it's so that's and the other comments that I had were about the planting. It'd be important for us to have a listing of which plants you're going to use, ideally as many native plants as possible. And then about the lighting, we'd need information about the lighting, the lumens, and that sort of thing, and what all the specs about the lighting and those little details. I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Yeah, I think it's a very successful plan, a good use of space. I agree with your comments, Christopher, on the view catch. Also on I think it'll be a very delicate balancing act to find something that's architecturally sympathetic with the house, as well as the older origins of the property, and that works for the pool, that will do that. You know, that what you were trying to recreate, the Dumbarton Oaks effect. It would be amazing if you could do something that somehow was sympathetic with all the different elements. You know, short of building, you know, a gigantic, you know, stone aqueduct or something. So, you know, that may or may not be feasible, but I think what you're doing right now with the columnar, you know, I assume these are European horn beams that you're using. Yeah. I think already that lends a certain gorgeous architecture that, you know, in our climate can give a little bit of an iris origo effect. And no, I think it's great. It is an interesting point. I think that the widening of the entryway to the pool is a good idea. So it doesn't look quite as so apologetic as it might look right now.
There is no privacy issue there, so I'm not so sure if we need to be committed to hedging that off really at all. Because this is all private within the stone wall. So didn't mean to interrupt you, but
I think the hedge looks nice because it continues the sense of enclosure in that gorgeous courtyard. And again, short of building some expensive stone wall, that's a very nice way. Were you thinking of using privet there, or what?
I was thinking of more of a holly kind of thing, but we haven't really determined that. But I think for the next meeting, I do need to, so that you can review what the plantings are.
Right. I mean, I think that wall, and of course it's nice because it disguises whatever fencing you, I suppose, would have to have by New York state law. So, but maybe just as Christopher was suggesting, maybe to widen it a little bit. And he does raise an interesting point about just the actual use day to day of running across the gravel and cutting your feet up. But it would be a shame to lose the big, vast, simple graveled courtyard if that's what you still have there, because it's a very special space. I've been down there with the old owners when they were there. So I don't know if there's a way around where you can maintain a sense of a gravel courtyard, that stately, simple gravel courtyard, but also attend to the softness of their feet.
I bet I can think of a way. I think.
But in general, my reaction as one voice out of 5 is fantastic, and this is really an exciting project.
From my perspective, it's pretty darn successful. I agree with my colleagues that the perspective, the scale of the opening from the driveway, to think about how that perspective works through the end into the field, if that's sculptural or plantings. My only thing that I could add to what they said is the evergreens. Personally, I like to see them spread out into the property so that when you're on Lookout Road looking down, you don't just see a random grouping of trees. So the thought of putting them throughout the property, I think, will be more successful than a bank of them.
Yeah, that'd be more natural than this, I think, yeah.
I completely agree. And I think that you'd mentioned, Daniel, even planting some upslope. So very much what Christopher Boshiers is recommending. Is that accurate, that you'd
Yeah.
stud them all throughout?
Yeah, this is the view from the street. So there's enough room and sunlight to put some things near the top. And then again, throughout here a little bit to keep it natural looking. I think,
But I think that's a really, really good piece of advice to stud them throughout.
That's it. Otherwise, things very successful.
Excellent.
Excellent feedback.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. Any other questions or concerns?
I think Daniel, no, I mean, from my side, I think Mr. Sherman and I will regroup, and I would say the suggestions to me all fit with the ideology that was in my mind, or said differently, enhancing, what we have. So I'm excited for this. I know it will take us a few weeks, so we'll go through the process of getting rescheduled once ready.
And the last comment that I had, I'm not sure how valid it is, or a suggestion more like, is that in the central area where from the motor court going down, the stairs are there. Obviously that is a vista point and you would want that open, but maybe it is just a vista point that you see and it's wider, and maybe you have the stairs more towards the other stairs, so that the access to the house isn't on the motor court, it's it's over the grass or something.
Oh, interesting. Right.
yeah, then there could be a pathway this way.
Yeah.
True.
So, yeah. So,
There's room for a pathway there. Yes.
and then you'd have probably on the other side have a obviously it'd be unnecessary to put stairs there as well, but something if you wanted the symmetry to make, and that would make that grand.
Like a little Juliet balcony or some kind of a thing to look out.
Correct.
Not necessarily go down.
Oh, that's interesting.
That could, because yeah, you don't want to. If you're there, you have to stop and take in the view. You don't just go and walk down. Then you miss that wonderful opportunity, because that's going to be the $1 million moment standing there.
Yeah.
And so you want to enjoy that as opposed to start looking down at the steps. So you grab onto the railings and not fall. So
Oh, interesting.
You can come off on either side
yeah.
Okay, those are great ideas.
of Namke.
Yes, like Namke. Yes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sharing.
So I think that concludes the applicants. Do we have to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes, we do. Let me just open up the minutes here. Okay, and it looks like that was June 2nd. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Architecture review meeting on June the 2nd. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Hi.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think that concludes our Board of Architectural review meeting of July the 7th, 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Have a good evening.
Good night. Thanks, Christopher.
Okay, good night.
Not at all.
Okay.
The meeting officially ended at 8:25.